Welcome back to All Day Live. It's 12:25, and looking forward to this next conversation. He's been a Minneapolis firefighter for more than 30 years, and then spent the last 5 leading that department. And now Chief Bryan Tyner is closing out this chapter. He's going to start a new one. He's going to be retiring at the end of the year, and he joins us right now. So thanks for being here, Chief. Appreciate it. I was like, I don't know that I've met you out in the field, and you said, oh yeah, way back in the day. It was a bloodmobile, something or another. Yeah, so it's good to see you again after all these years. I'm curious, so you announced your retirement, I think it was last week. What has that been like for you here this past week?
So I guess I've known I was going to be retiring at the end of this year for a long time, but now it's starting to feel real now that we're kind of talking about it. In some ways it's exciting, in some ways it's a little scary. You know, when you've been doing something for 30 years, 30 plus years, the thought of kind of moving on can be a little bit scary, you know, and a little bit, I don't know, a little anxious, you know, but exciting too.
Yes.
So.
And we'll talk a little bit here in a little bit about your next chapter, which is really interesting and exciting too. Do you think that you'll somehow keep one kind of foot or one kind of something in this world that you've spent so many decades dedicated to?
I think so. I mean, it's hard to, I don't think you ever really truly completely walk away. I'll be a retired member of a number of the organizations that I'm a part of now, so I'll still be connected. You never really ever truly completely walk away, I don't think.
You've been in this community for so long, and you know, really, when we talk about in the community, you have been right there, you know, risking your life alongside of other firefighters and first responders. I'm curious if there are memories that stand out for you that you would be willing to share with us, because you probably had so many. Yeah,
I do have a lot of memories. There's a lot of stuff that I don't remember too, but there are a lot of things that I really do remember that stand out for me. One of them was a birth of a child that, you know, we helped out with, but it had complications, and so we had to take the mother down to the hospital, and we got her there, and in an emergency room they were able to actually deliver the baby, but the baby had gotten to a point where we weren't sure if he was going to survive. And then probably about 4 or 5 years later, we were at an award ceremony, and the parents were there for a different person getting an award, and they recognized me and they let me know that, yeah, you know, the kid's doing great, he's, you know, growing up, he didn't suffer any complications. So that's the moment that, you know, really was kind of heartening for me. Another person was another person that I had helped that had suffered some trauma. It was a domestic assault kind of situation, and you know, she was attacked with a knife and hurt pretty badly. And I remember her asking me, you know, am I gonna die? And I said, well, not today, you know, so we're gonna, you know, take care of you. But I really didn't know how it was gonna come out. And I ran into her a couple of years ago at a community event, and she remembered me, and she remembered all of that. She said she remembered me telling her that, and then the next thing she knew, she was waking up in the hospital. But you know, when we send people to the hospital, we never find out what happened after that because of HIPAA laws and things like that. So you know, to find out that she had, you know, survived and was doing really well was a really great moment for me as well. And I think it was a great moment for her, and we kind of had a little reunion, and it was, I don't know, it was a great moment that I'll never forget. I think
what's so interesting is that both of your examples, the first 2 things you talked about were impacts that you had on human beings. And when I'm thinking about asking you that question, I'm thinking about what was the fire that you responded to, what was the circumstance. No, and I want to go there too, but I love that that's where you went first, because that's what's most memorable to you, are the people that you have affected over the years. So yeah, talk to us about some of the emergency response, because yes, in addition to fighting fires, you guys do a lot, things like you just talked about. The firefighting aspect of it in itself is so incredible and heroic, and you know, not everybody can do this kind of work. Tell me about some of the things that you have come across over the years that really, you know, have had the biggest impact on you as far as fighting those fires.
You know, a couple of the fires that really, well, first of all, I'll never forget my first fire. I was a rookie on Fire Engine 8 over in South Minneapolis, and we got a fire, and it was blazing, and we were the first ones in, which means I'm laying the attack line in there, and I went in with my captain, and I remember I was so excited and nervous at the same time, and just not wanting to mess up, but we went right in there, and we were in there. We ended up working the whole 10, 15 minutes that our bottle allows us to work, and I remember when I came out, the driver was like, hey, your helmet is melted. So my shield had melted all around my helmet. It was so hot in there, which taught me a lesson to stay low. I was just standing up.
Okay?
I was just standing up. I remember my captain like, get down.
My goodness. Wow.
So, but you know what? We just changed bottles and went right back in and finished off. And I actually kept that shield. It's kind of one of my souvenirs, so to speak, that I've always kept. It's in a shed somewhere, probably collecting dust, but I have it. Another one was, I don't remember if you remember, there was a bar and nightclub called Norma Jean's Restaurant, and that huge fire is one that always stood out for me. I think that was my biggest one, working on a fire truck. We were actually having to do rescues and things. There were no rescues to be had in that one, but everybody survived, but there was nobody we had to get out of there. But that big fire really stood out to me. And then the Drake Hotel fire. Now, by then I was an assistant chief, so I wasn't going in. And then, of course, the Cedar High Rise fire. That one stood out for me because of the tragic nature of it.
Yes. You were appointed chief, it was 5 years ago, so just think about the timing here, you guys. 2020, December of 2020 is when you stepped into that leadership role. The second black chief ever appointed in the city of Minneapolis. What does that mean to you? And then what was that like to enter in during that time?
So it was, first of all, it was an honor of a lifetime, but also it was a challenge. First of all, it was an honor to be named fire chief for this department, an honor to be only the second black chief to do it. But my goal wasn't ever to be the black chief. My goal was to be the best chief. And time would tell if I was able to do that or not. I think there'd probably be differing opinions depending on who you ask. But I felt like we got some things accomplished. But it was really challenging in that, it was still in the throes of COVID, just on the, tail end of the riots behind the George Floyd killing and things like that. And so the fire department really had a lot of recovery to do. And so being able to navigate our way through COVID and being able to lead our navigation through the recovery of those riots, which, caused a lot of people mental anguish and things that they're still dealing with today, I think was the biggest challenge that faced me coming on. But we were able to do it. We were able to work our way through it. It was kind of tough because, especially with COVID, the goalposts kept moving, and the health directives and everything kept changing, and you had to really be nimble enough to be able to navigate through that. But we were able to do it. Yeah,
and again, you're not just responding to physical fires. There was so much more that you all were doing at that time. I wanted to go through some of the accomplishments here that you've been able to, people say you always want to leave it better than when you came, right?
Yes, so, that was my goal.
If I could list a couple things, and then you kind of talked to me about what you were most proud of, but I just want to let folks know some of the things that you've been able to accomplish in your time is, one is the EMS Pathways. This is that paid internship program for underutilized populations designed to launch young people into first responder careers. 85% of graduates have been people of color, 45% are female. Safe Station is another one. We can go back here. Safe Station, judgment-free resource at Fire Station 14. People can seek help for substance use challenges, modern alerting systems, so we're improving response times, and launch a nationally recognized commercial building inspection program were just a few that I was able to find. So those, or something else that you were just so proud of?
Yeah, well, I'm proud of all of those things. The EMS Pathways Academy actually began under my predecessor, Chief John Friedel, but he gave me the honor of being able to lead the implementation of it. So I'm very proud of that, and it really focuses on underrepresented communities and getting them into the fire service and to the EMS services. And so that has been a really successful program. I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of the fact that we were able to add 15 firefighters and reopen Engine 10. The downtown corridor is just bursting at the seams in terms of the amount of incidents that we have to respond to. Engine 6 downtown is actually the 4th or 5th busiest engine in the whole country. It's the busiest here in Minneapolis, but it's the 4th or 5th busiest in the whole country. And so being able to open Engine 10 to help out with that is something I was really proud of. And really all the things you listed, I will say that the most boring one on the list is the commercial building registration program.
I put it last.
Yep, but it's also one of the most important.
Okay, tell us.
So first of all, when I became the fire marshal, this is back in 2008 now, the city didn't have a cyclical inspection program for commercial buildings. And the only time we got into commercial buildings is if somebody called in a complaint and we went to investigate that complaint. And so a lot of buildings were being used for purposes for which they were not built. A lot of buildings were being used or just were out of compliance with the fire code and things like that. And so the commercial building registration program is a program that I actually thought of in a class at the National Fire Academy, and then came back and worked on getting it implemented. It required buildings to register with the city, and there's a cost to it. So I got some pushback on that, of course, but that's what paid for the cyclical inspection program that allowed us to get all the commercial buildings back into compliance and figure out what was being used for what, because at that time we really didn't have a good record of that. So it became a national model. Some other cities adopted it. A lot of cities still ask us about it. We're still using it, even though the Fire Prevention Bureau is now in another department of the city. Okay. But yeah, it's something I'm really proud of.
Yeah, I can see that. And yeah, you'll never know the difference that made because you're preventing so much, hopefully now.
Right.
So it's one of those.
Really hard to quantify things that didn't happen.
That's
but
right.
I really feel like we save a lot more lives through prevention than we ever could running in the buildings. So.
Yeah. You grew up here. I mean, you're serving the community you grew up in North Minneapolis. Do you feel like the department over the last few decades has kind of evolved to represent better the communities that we serve, or is there still a lot of work to be done there?
I think the answer is yes to both. Okay. I think the answer is yes. We've come a long way towards representing the community that we serve, and yes, there's still a lot of work to be done, particularly when it comes to female firefighters. The national average of career female firefighters is only about 4%. And here in Minneapolis, I think we're at 8 or 9%, which is twice the national average, but still an extremely low number. So I think there's a lot of work that we can do on trying to recruit and bring on female firefighters to the Minneapolis Fire Department and to the fire service in general. As far as other minority groups and people in the city, I think we've been able to make inroads, but I think there's still work to do. If you look at our history, it kind of ebbs and flows. Okay. And I think we're starting to flow again now, but we lost a lot of numbers in the last ebb. So.
Yeah, well, your successor, hopefully that's something that can they can take on and carry that torch. I just wanted to ask about the what's next, because sometimes folks come in here after a long career and they're retiring and they kind of just say, well, I'm going to go fishing, or I'm going to, I don't know what I'm going to do. You do have some plans though, which I think are really cool. So tell us about what you're going to be doing.
I've been given the opportunity to become the next executive director of the Phyllis Wheatley Community Center. Okay. So the Phyllis Wheatley Community Center is a 101-year-old institution. I think it's the oldest black institution in Minneapolis. It began as a settlement house back in 1924, and it was actually created by a group of women who had been accepted to the University of Minnesota who were not allowed to stay in the dorms, and so they began the settlement house for them to stay in, and then it became a place where minorities and other people that come to the city of Minneapolis that couldn't stay in hotels or find housing could stay until they were able to get established. From there, it grew out to a community center, and so they kind of went away from the settlement house part of it, and they grew into a community center that now offers programming for kids, adults, pretty much everybody along the community spectrum. We have a daycare there, the Mary T. Welcome Daycare. I say we, it's not even we yet, but we have.
You're doing a good job of selling it, so I think you're. And let's face it, you're not a stranger to this place, right?
I am not.
It is part of who you are,
too, part of me growing up and everything. I went there as a kid, just hanging out to play sports and things like that. They had a music program there. They had boxing lessons there and all of that stuff. As an adult, I sent my children to the Mary T. Welcome Daycare. Awesome. And so they kind of grew up in there too. And then the last few years, I've actually worked as a volunteer on the executive board there. So I'm very familiar with the Phyllis Wheatley Community Center and very excited to be able to step in and be part of the team.
Yeah, well, we can't thank you enough for coming here today and just talking to us a little bit about your incredible career, and congratulations on that. And then also just thank you so much for your service and what you've done for our community.
Thank you.
You guys,
thank you.
We don't get to run into, most people in the public don't run into you unless there's a problem. So
That's
we don't
true.
Get,
That's
we don't
true.
get to see you to say, hey, thanks. But on behalf of so many people, thank you so much for your
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I still get embarrassed every time somebody thanks me for my service. They do pay me, so. But thank you.
Well, I love it. I love this new opportunity for you as well. Chief Tyner, thank you so much. Appreciate it. It's really good to see you again.
Thank you.
All right.